I don't know who you are. I don't know what you've been through, but I know this. If you are listening to this message, if you've been feeling something deep in your soul that you can't explain, if life has hit you harder than most and yet you're still standing, then maybe, just maybe, you are dangerously anointed by God. Now, I ain't talking about church folks who quote scriptures they don't live by. I'm not talking about perfect people who never cried themselves to sleep. I'm talking to the broken, the bruised, the forgotten, the rejected. I'm talking to the people who've been through hell but kept walking. The ones who felt fire all around them but still didn't burn. If you see these signs in your life, get ready, because you're not just anointed. You are dangerously anointed, and the devil knows it. Sign 1. You've been through pain that should have broken you. You've been through pain. Not ordinary pain. I'm talking about the kind of pain that doesn't just hurt you. Ray tries to erase you. You ever been there? In that dark place where the only thing louder than your heartbeat was your silence, where tears didn't ask permission, they just showed up? Where your soul screamed but nobody heard you, you tried to keep it together, you smiled when you wanted to scream, you held people up when you were falling apart yourself, and still, somehow, you survived. But let me tell you something, pain like that doesn't come to everybody. Storms like that don't knock on every door. The kind of hell you walk through is a furnace not meant to destroy you, but to reveal the gold inside you. The devil doesn't attack what doesn't threaten him. If pain knocked at your door and sat at your table, if grief took up space in your bed, if depression whispered lies in your ears night after night after night, then let me be real with you. It's because you are dangerously anointed. God doesn't anoint the perfect. He anoints the wounded. He anoints the ones who bled in silence but didn't lose their worship. He anoints the ones who crawled into prayer with nothing left to say but a God, if you don't help me, I won't make it. You see, brokenness is not the absence of anointing, it's the proof of it. Heaven is not drawn to strength, it's drawn to surrender. And every time you broke down but didn't break apart, heaven stood up and took notice. Because it takes anointing to survive what tried to kill you. Some of y'all, you went through betrayal that cut so deep it changed the way you trust. You buried dreams, you lost people you couldn't live without. You stared at suicide in the face and still you got up the next morning. That's not chance. That's not luck. That's purpose. That's power. That's proof. Proof that there is a call on your life. Proof that there's oil on your head so thick, even hell couldn't wash it off. Proof that you're not ordinary. You're not average. You're not small. You are dangerously anointed, and the devil knew it before you did. That's why he sent that pain early. That's why the trauma came before the platform. That's why the warfare started when you were still too young to understand it. Because if he could break you then, if he could shatter your spirit early, if he could make you feel unworthy before you ever walked in your calling, maybe, just maybe, he could stop you from becoming what God already declared. But he failed. Because you're still here, still breathing, still walking, still believing. And every tear you cried was a seed, and every breakdown you survived was a battle won. And every sleepless night was recorded in the hands of God. He didn't waste 1 ounce of your pain. He's been turning your scars into strategies, your weeping into weapons, your silence into songs. Let the world look at you and wonder how you made it. Let them question your strength. Let them talk about your past. They don't know the whole story. They don't know the nights you begged God to just take the pain away. They don't know the way your soul cracked open, but your spirit stayed intact. You see, you didn't just survive, you were reborn. And now every step you take is louder than any sermon, is stronger than any speech, is proof that God doesn't waste pain, he anoints through it. So if you've been through pain that should have broken you, but you're still standing, then you better believe you are dangerously anointed by God. And baby, the world better get ready, because there's glory rising from your grief. There's fire forming from your failures. There's oil dripping from your old wounds. And the devil should have taken you out when he had the chance, because now you know who you are. 2, you've been rejected by the ones you love the most, and nothing cuts deeper than being rejected. Not by enemies, but by the ones you prayed for, cried for, and would have died for. See, we expect pain from strangers. We expect the world to turn on us, maybe. But what happens when it's your own family, your closest friends, the people who were supposed to see you, who were supposed to believe in you? What do you do when the hands that were meant to hold you are the first to push you away? Let me tell you something. That kind of rejection ain't ordinary. That kind of heartbreak isn't random. That kind of betrayal doesn't just happen. It's a sign, a painful personal sign that you are dangerously anointed by God. Rejection is not a punishment, it's preparation. When God is about to do something powerful in your life, He starts removing people who can't carry your calling. They may love you, but they can't walk with you. They may support your past, but they can't survive your future. You thought they left because you weren't enough. Nah, beloved, they left because your anointing was too much. See, people will clap for you until your calling starts to convict them. They'll cheer for you. Until your growth exposes their stagnancy, they'll say, "I'm proud of you," while secretly hoping you stay beneath them. But when the oil starts flowing on your life, it reveals who's really for you and who was just tolerating you. The rejection you experienced wasn't personal. It was prophetic, because God is too wise to let everyone walk into your destiny with you. Some people had to leave. Some people had to betray you. Some doors had to close. Why? Because the weight you carry, the fire you walk in, the calling on your life, it's not for people who are scared of the flame. Let me talk to the one who cried over being left. Let me talk to the one who begged God to bring them back. Let me talk to the one who kept trying to prove their worth to people who were blind to their value. Stop chasing those who couldn't carry your crown. You were never too sensitive. You were never too much. You were never too intense. Your spirit was just too deep for shallow company. You were born with something they couldn't recognize because they've never seen it before. You've got that rare oil, that David kind of anointing, and with that comes a season of rejection. Don't forget, David was rejected too, overlooked by his own father, dismissed by his own brothers. And still God anointed him, because when man rejects you, it just clears the room for God to pour. So if you've been wondering why they turned cold, why they stopped calling, why the ones you'd fight for stopped fighting for you, let me say it plain. You didn't lose them. You outgrew them. And God in His mercy let rejection do what you didn't have the courage to do. Let go. You're not abandoned. You're not forgotten. You're not unlovable. You're being preserved. Because oil this sacred, anointing this dangerous, can't be mishandled. And God said, before I elevate you, I've got to separate you. So cry if you must. Mourn what you lost, but don't let rejection make you question your worth. They didn't reject you because you were weak. They rejected you because you were marked. You are chosen. You are set apart. You are heaven's weapon in the earth. You carry something that scares people who aren't ready for revival. So next time someone walks away from you, don't chase. Next time someone says you've changed, say a thank you. Next time someone shuts a door, bless it. Because every time man walked out, God walked in. Every time a friend failed you, heaven reassigned you. Every time you were pushed away, you were actually being pulled deeper into purpose. So let me say it loud for the people in the back. A rejection is not the end. It's the evidence that you are dangerously anointed by God. And your story? Oh, it's just getting started. Sign 3. Your battles are bigger than your stage. You ever feel like nobody really knows what you're going through? Like they see your smile, but they don't see the storm behind it? People look at you and think you're strong. They say you are so composed, so confident, so put together. But if only they knew the nights you cried yourself to sleep. If only they knew the battles you fight just to get out of bed. If only they knew the war raging inside you behind that calm face. You see, the greater your calling, the greater your conflict, the bigger your destiny, the bigger your demons. You don't fight small fights because you don't carry a small future. Your battles are bigger than your stage because your anointing is bigger than your image. And sometimes that feels unfair. You wonder, why me, God? Why do I keep going through things nobody else around me seems to deal with? Why does it feel like I'm carrying weight that wasn't meant for one person? Because you weren't created to blend in. You were born to break chains. You were born to shift atmospheres. You were born to carry oil that destroys yokes. And oil like that, it doesn't come cheap. It costs pain. It costs private pressure. It costs lonely nights and silent battles. The weight of your warfare is the receipt for the weight of your anointing. Nobody sees the spiritual warfare you face, the mental torment, and the emotional fatigue, the overwhelming sense of a God, I'm trying, but I'm tired. But listen to me. Don't you dare confuse the fight with failure. You are not weak because you're struggling. You're not unqualified because you're in a storm. The struggle is confirmation that there's something in you hell can't stand, and the enemy doesn't attack the unarmed. He comes for warriors. He comes for prophets. He comes for visionaries. He comes for those who carry something sacred. You've been fighting in private because God is building you in silence. Nobody claps for preparation. Nobody applauds the night you sat in your car after work and just stared at the steering wheel. Nobody sees the hours you wrestle with doubt. Nobody hears the voice that says, "You are not enough. You're not ready. You're not worthy." But here's the truth. That voice is afraid of your next level. That voice knows your potential. That voice knows the moment you stop believing the lie, everything will change. Because once you realize the size of your storm is a reflection of the size of your spirit, you'll stop shrinking. You'll stop apologizing. You'll stop asking for permission to be powerful. A God is letting you fight battles in silence, so that when he lifts you up, no one else can take the credit. Your stage may be small right now. Your audience may be few, but the battle is massive, because the oil on your life isn't for gnats. What you're carrying, it's not for applause. It's not for Instagram. It's for impact. So while others sleep, you wrestle. While others play games, you pray prayers. While others gossip, you go to war in the spirit. You're fighting giants that don't even have names yet. And whereas you've been assigned to something eternal. And here's what's wild. The people around you don't even know how close they are to glory just by standing next to you. You're the Moses of your family, the Joseph of your generation, the Esther of your environment. That's why the battles are so intense, because the anointing is so deep. So if you're wondering why your storm seems stronger than most, if you're questioning why you face so much resistance for doing the right thing, if you feel like you're always in warfare even when nobody's watching, it's because your spirit is louder than your stage. And your destiny is bigger than your current surroundings. But hear me clearly, the battle you fight in the dark is the foundation God is laying for your light. So keep fighting, keep praying, keep showing up. Don't let the silence fool you. Heaven is working. And when God elevates you, they'll say, "Where did this power come from?" But you'll know it came from the war they never saw. You are dangerously anointed by God, and your battles are not a burden. They are your birthright. Sign 4, you feel God more in the silence than in the noise. That there's a place where the crowds fade, the lights dim, and it's just you and God. You ever been there? Not in a packed church, not in a revival with the organ shouting behind the preacher, not in a place filled with noise, but in the quiet, in your car, in your room, on your knees, just you and the presence. That's where it hits different. That's where the tears fall without permission. That's where God whispers your name and your spirit breaks open, because you don't need hype. You don't need a stage. You don't need lights or applause or cameras. You just need him. You feel God more in the silence than in the noise, because your anointing doesn't perform, it communes. You're not chasing platforms. You're chasing presence. You're not after popularity. You're after power. People don't get it. They wonder why you're quiet in crowds, why you disappear sometimes, why you're not always on. But they don't know what it's like to feel heaven break into a silent room. They don't know the weight of glory that falls when everyone else is asleep. They don't know what it's like to feel God breathe on your soul at 2 a.m. when you're curled up in the dark, whispering, "God, I need you." That kind of connection is rare, and it's the sign that you've been marked. You don't worship for attention. You worship because it's the only language your spirit knows. You don't fast to impress. You fast because your appetite changed. You don't pray because you're religious. You pray because if you didn't, you wouldn't survive. The silence is sacred to you. Because in that silence, you've heard God say things that rewired your soul. You've heard him say, "A daughter, I see you. A son, I'm still with you. You're not forgotten. I've got you." And when he speaks in silence, it shakes you deeper than 1,000 sermons. A noise is for crowds, but intimacy, that's for the called. When you're dangerously anointed, you don't need external confirmation. Your validation comes in the stillness. Your strength is renewed in quiet places. Your oil isn't poured in the spotlight. It's crushed in the cave. God pulled you away not to punish you, but to prepare you. You thought he was being silent, but he was actually speaking in a language only the chosen understand. The language of stillness. Because some of his greatest revelations don't come through a mic, they come through a whisper. He's been downloading glory into your spirit while others are chasing clout. You've been learning him in private, walking with him when it's not popular, trusting him when no one else is watching, loving him without an audience. And that's the sign. That's how you know you're dangerously anointed. Because you don't need a crowd to know he's near. You don't need music to lift your hands. You don't need a preacher to lay hands on you to fall into his presence. You've built an altar in your tears. You've turned your bedroom into a sanctuary. You've transformed your silence into symphonies of worship. God has taught you that intimacy is greater than influence. And when you walk into rooms now, you carry something different. People may not be able to name it, but they feel it. They sense the depth in you. They see the weight you carry without saying a word. Because oil doesn't shout, it drips. Anointing doesn't beg for attention, it transforms atmospheres. So if you've ever felt God more in your silence than in the crowd, if you've ever cried in his presence without a single word, if you've ever been wrecked by his love in a room where no one else was present, then hear me. You are dangerously anointed by God. He chose you for intimacy. He called you for connection. And before he gives you the microphone, he gives you the secret place, because those who walk with him in silence will speak for him in power. Sign 5. Doors that should open keep slamming shut. Have you ever stood in front of a door you just knew was yours? Watched it slam in your face? You did everything right.
You prayed. You prepared. You showed up with faith in your chest,
Fire in your eyes, and a dream in your hands. And just when it looked like everything was aligning, the door closed. The opportunity vanished. The person changed. The answer became no. And you whispered through tears, but God, I thought this was it. Let me tell you something real. When you're dangerously anointed by God, not every no is a denial. It's divine redirection. See, people with normal destinies can walk through normal doors. But when you're carrying oil, when you've been marked by heaven, when your anointing could shift generations, God won't let just any door open. Because the wrong door at the right time is still a trap. Because some open doors come with hidden chains. Because some opportunities come laced with distractions meant to detour your calling. A slammed door in your life is sometimes God's loudest I love you. You thought they rejected you, but heaven was protecting you. You thought the interview fell through because you weren't qualified. But really, it wasn't your assignment. You thought the relationship ended because you messed up. But God was removing what couldn't walk with the weight of your future. Let me say this to the one who's still staring at the closed door. Stop knocking. You don't have to beg for what's divine. You don't have to chase what God has not chosen. You don't have to cry over what was never meant to carry your crown. The door didn't close because you failed. It closed because you're favored. And favor will frustrate you when you don't understand it, because it doesn't feel like a blessing. It feels like heartbreak. It feels like being overlooked. It feels like being stuck while everyone else seems to move ahead. But what if I told you you're not behind, you're not forgotten, you're not being punished, you're being positioned. You're being positioned because God doesn't need to open every door. He just needs to open the right one. And when he does, no man, no boss, no critic, no system, no demon in hell can shut it. Some doors had to slam shut because you're not stepping into average, you're stepping into destiny. So if you're in a season where nothing seems to be opening, where applications go unanswered, where calls stop coming, where dreams get delayed, take a breath, look up, and thank God. Because he's not just saving you from what's wrong, he's preparing what's right. He's building a door that matches your anointing. He's setting the stage for something bigger than what you thought. He's making room not just for opportunity, but for overflow. Sometimes God blocks the door because what's on the other side is too small for your oil. You were never meant to be confined. You were never meant to settle. You were never meant to walk into average. When your spirit carries greatness and when you're dangerously anointed, heaven will protect you from premature promotion. Because the wrong platform can poison your purpose. The wrong connection can contaminate your calling. The wrong timing can sabotage your testimony. So stop weeping over the slammed door. It wasn't your failure. It was God's favor. It wasn't rejection. It was redirection. It wasn't the end. It was an upgrade in disguise. Closed doors don't cancel your calling. They confirm it. Because God closes doors when he's about to build you your own gate. And when that moment comes, when he opens the one that's been reserved for you, the one tailor-made, heaven-sent, fire-tested, you won't have to force it. You won't have to beg for it. You won't even have to knock. Because the door will swing open at the sound of your obedience. So walk boldly, walk with fire, walk with praise for the doors that closed, because they were keeping you from counterfeit glory. And know this, you are dangerously anointed by God, and no closed door can keep you from what he has prepared. Sign 6, you're drawn to purpose more than pleasure. There's something different about you, and you've always known it. You've tried to fit in, tried to go with the flow, tried to live like everybody else. But no matter what you do, something keeps pulling you back. You can't stay distracted for long. You can't stay numb for long. You can't stay lost in the noise. Because deep down, your spirit craves meaning. It's not enough for you to have fun. It's not enough to just enjoy the moment. You need purpose like you need oxygen. While others chase pleasure, you chase assignment. You try to celebrate with them, laugh with them, dance with them. But while they're living for the weekend, you're burdened by something more. You feel the ache of destiny in your bones. You can't enjoy what they enjoy because you know too much. You've seen too much. You've heard God whisper things to your heart that you can't unhear. And now when you try to run with the crowd, something inside you says, this isn't you anymore. I've called you higher. You don't belong to casual living. You weren't made for empty joy. You weren't created just to exist. You were born to impact. And that impact requires sacrifice. A pleasure fades, but purpose leaves fingerprints on eternity. That's why the parties don't satisfy. That's why the temporary highs crash into silent nights. That's why the things that used to make you happy now leave you feeling hollow. Because God is weaning you off the world so he can feed you with purpose. And purpose doesn't always feel good. It demands discipline. It costs comfort. It requires saying no when others say yes, but deep down, you wouldn't trade it for anything. Because you've tasted the sweetness of walking in your calling. You felt the fire of waking up and knowing, this is why I'm alive. And once you touch that kind of clarity, you can't go back. You're not addicted to pleasure. You're obsessed with purpose. And because of that, God is raising you different. You're not on the same training ground as everyone else. Your pain has purpose. Your pressure has strategy. Your path has weight. And the reason some people can't run with you anymore isn't because you're better than them. It's because you're becoming who God called you to be. And they're still settling for who the world told them they should be. When you're dangerously anointed, you're not seduced by comfort. You're fueled by calling. That's why your spirit gets heavy when you waste time. Why you can't laugh at what others joke about. Why you feel guilty when you ignore the pull of your assignment. It's not that you're uptight. It's not that you're boring. It's not that you're missing out. It's that you've been awakened. Your heart has been branded by something eternal. And once eternity touches your soul, temporary thrills will never fulfill you again. You see people chasing relationships just to fill a void. You're chasing God's voice. They want likes. You want legacy. They want comfort. You want conviction. They want now. You want forever. You're not avoiding fun. You're being faithful to the future. And that future, it's weighty. It's powerful. It's dripping with heaven's oil. It's going to require you to walk away from many things. But hear me, it's worth it. Every sacrifice, every no, every lonely season, every misunderstood moment. You're not crazy. You're not too intense. You're not too deep. We're just anointed. And you've been called out from the crowd because you carry something the crowd can't handle. So let them laugh. Let them call you too serious. Let them say you're missing out. They don't know that you're in training for something divine, that you're preparing to walk into places their pleasures will never take them, that your purpose will break chains, heal wounds, restore generations. And that's why you feel different. That's why the fun doesn't feel fun anymore. Because you've outgrown it. You are dangerously anointed by God, and pleasure can't hold what only purpose can carry. Sign 7, you've seen darkness and didn't let it swallow you. You've been through things that would have destroyed most people, but you're still here. Not because it was easy. Not because you were strong. Not because you had a perfect plan. But because God stepped in. You've seen darkness, not just around you, but inside you. You've walked through hell and felt the smoke in your lungs. You've been to the edge of sanity. You've stared down depression. You've laid in bed with anxiety screaming in your chest like a war you couldn't silence, and still you didn't give up. You didn't give in. You didn't let the darkness define you. You've seen what most people only read about, and you survived it. They see the smile now. They hear the wisdom. They watch the strength. But what they don't see is the war you had to fight to get here. They don't know you had nights where you didn't want to wake up. They don't know you begged God to take the pain away. They don't know you questioned your worth, your value, your purpose. They don't know how many times you said, God, where are you? But even in the silence, he was working. Even in the darkness, he was shaping. Even in the pain, he was planting something eternal in you. Because oil isn't made in light, it's crushed in the dark. That crushing made you. That betrayal birthed compassion, that heartbreak produced discernment, that depression deepened your worship, that anxiety turned your prayers into warfare. And now you walk with a weight, not the weight of grief, but the weight of glory, because you've been somewhere deep and you didn't drown. You've carried pain most people never talk about, and you didn't get bitter. You faced darkness, and instead of running, you reached for the light. So that's how I know you're dangerously anointed by God. Because people with average callings can live in comfort. But people with divine callings, they're born in fire. You weren't made on the mountaintop, you were made in the valley. You weren't called in comfort, you were carved in conflict. You didn't learn faith from blessings, you learned it in the storm. And that storm wasn't sent to kill you, it was sent to reveal you. You came out of it marked, different, wiser, heavier with heaven's power. You carry something that can't be taught. It had to be survived. That's why people are drawn to you, but they don't understand why. It's not your charm. It's not your talent. It's the oil. It's the evidence of fire on your life. It's the scent of smoke in your worship. It's the sound of victory in your voice, even when you whisper. They feel it, even when you don't speak, because you didn't just go through darkness, you grew in it. You didn't just survive, you transformed. You were not the same person who entered the fire, because God does his deepest work in the dark. And now you walk with understanding. Now you speak with authority. Now you pray with power. Now you worship with wounds that healed right. And when the enemy looks at you, he sees the one that got away. He sees the one he couldn't destroy. He sees the one who should have quit, but instead rose from the ashes with divine fire. So don't ever be ashamed of your darkness. Don't ever downplay your story. Don't ever silence the testimony of survival, because it's evidence of the anointing you carry. Your darkness didn't kill you. It crowned you. You are proof that resurrection is real. You are proof that light can rise from the pit. You are proof that God still saves, still delivers, still heals, still breathes life into dry bones. So hold your head high and know this: you are dangerously anointed by God, because you've seen darkness and didn't let it swallow you. Sign 8. You've been set apart, not left out. Why does it feel like everyone else belongs, but you don't? You smile in the room, but you feel the distance. You laugh with the crowd, but your heart knows you're not truly part of it. You show up, but always feel like you're on the outside looking in. And sometimes it cuts deep. You wonder, what's wrong with me? Why are the invites missing? Why do they stop calling? Why do people walk away after they get close? And the enemy whispers, you're not lovable. You don't belong. You're too much. You're not enough. But listen to me. Right now, you weren't left out. You were set apart. Heaven didn't forget you. It hid you. God didn't abandon you. He anointed you. That distance wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Because when you are dangerously anointed by God, you don't get to grow in crowds. You grow in consecration. You set apart doesn't feel good, but it produces greatness. See, ordinary people can blend in. Ordinary people can chase likes, clout, status. Ordinary people can live to please everyone. But not you. You were marked, called, chosen, handpicked by God to carry something that requires consecration. And when God sets you apart, he subtracts what can't walk with your calling. He removes the noise. He filters the friendships. He silences the applause. Because popularity and purpose don't always walk together. And if you try to force yourself into spaces that God pulled you from, you'll lose your power. If you try to fight for inclusion where he designed you for isolation, you'll miss your oil. Be set apart means God loved you enough to separate you before the spotlight. You've been crying over who left. You've been grieving the circles that closed. but you didn't lose anything. You were being released. God knew that some people loved your potential but couldn't handle your purpose. They could tolerate your wounds but would have resented your healing. They clapped for the old you but would have choked on your growth. So he removed them before they could contaminate your next chapter. You are not difficult. You are divine. And divine things don't fit in dirty places. Sacred things don't thrive in shallow waters. Dangerous anointing doesn't grow in the comfort of the crowd. You had to walk alone so you could learn to walk in authority. You had to be misunderstood so you could discover your true identity. You had to be set apart so you would finally hear God clearly. And now you're stronger. Now you're wiser. Now your discernment is sharp. Now your character is clean. Now your prayers are fierce. Set apart people don't waste pain, they weaponize it. You've used the silence to build something holy. You've used the rejection to draw closer to heaven. You've let the loneliness become the fire that forged your anointing. So the next time you feel left out, thank God. The next time they forget to invite you, bless them and move on. The next time you wonder why you don't fit in, look up and remember, I was never made to fit. I was made to stand out for His glory. You don't walk like them because you carry something they don't. You don't talk like them because your tongue has been sanctified by fire. You don't dream like them because your vision came from a secret place. Set apart means you're not just a person, you're a weapon in God's hands. And weapons don't live in the open. They're kept hidden, sharpened, until it's time to release them into battle. So stand tall, chosen one. Wipe your tears, fix your crown, square your shoulders. You were never overlooked, you were never rejected, you were never alone. You were just being preserved for such a time as this. You are dangerously anointed by God. And being set apart is the evidence that your life is not ordinary. It's anointed. Sign 9. You carry a fire you didn't ask for. There's something inside you that won't let you rest. It's not ambition. It's not ego. It's not obsession. It's a fire that God Himself lit inside your bones. And you didn't ask for it. You didn't wake up one day and say, I want to feel burdened for souls. You didn't choose to walk into a room and sense the atmosphere shift. You didn't plan to pray at midnight with tears soaking your pillow, but the fire found you. Somewhere in your wilderness, God lit it. Somewhere in your pain, He planted it. Somewhere in your storm, He breathed on you, and it caught flame. And now, you can't go back to being normal. You try to chill, but you feel the stir. You try to sleep, but your spirit groans. You try to just alive your life, but God keeps pulling you back to the secret place. There's a holy unrest inside you, a burning that the world can't satisfy, a divine fire that no vacation, no relationship, no success can silence. You didn't ask for this, but it's yours. And you can't ignore it anymore. You are dangerously anointed, and the evidence is the fire you carry. This fire pushes you when you're tired. It whispers to you when you're distracted. It convicts you when you start to settle. You see people compromise, but you can't. You hear others curse, but your spirit tenses. You watch people live recklessly and something in you mourns. Why? Because the fire is alive, and fire doesn't let you live like everyone else. You've been ruined for ordinary, and yes, sometimes you wish you could turn it off. Sometimes you wish you could just be normal, but when you try to walk away, God pulls you back. When you try to quit, something ignites again. When you try to hide, the fire grows louder. Because this is not man-made passion. This is prophetic fire. This is destiny-level combustion. This is the heat of heaven that refuses to let you settle for less. You didn't ask for the fire, but the fire asked for you. It chose you. It marked you. It trusted you. And now you carry it like a torch in the night. That's why your words burn when you speak, why your prayers cut through darkness. Why your presence shifts the room, why your pain didn't kill you or find you. You're a fire starter, a kingdom arsonist, an igniter of movements you don't even know you've birthed yet. Because when you carry fire, you don't just live, you consume. You consume doubt with faith. You consume fear with love. You consume bondage with freedom. You consume lies with truth. But fire has a cost. Fire is lonely. Fire is painful. Fire isolates. Fire burns away anything that cannot stay. You've lost people because of it. You've been misunderstood because of it. You've been called a too deep, a too intense, a too much. But you're not too much. You're just too marked. Marked by flame, marked by purpose, marked by heaven. You carry what prophets carried, what revivalists carried, what kingdom shakers carried. You carry the kind of fire that can't be taught. It can't be bought. It can't be fake. It was born in secret, fostered in pain, fueled by obedience, and preserved by the hand of God. You carry a fire that wakes up demons when you walk into the room, a fire that makes hell nervous and heaven rejoice, a fire that says, I will not live small. I will not die empty. I will burn for the glory of God. So don't suppress it. Don't apologize for it. Don't hide it to make others comfortable. You were never called to blend in. You were called to ignite. You are dangerously anointed. And you carry a fire you didn't ask for because your life is an altar and God found it worthy of flame. Sign 10. You threaten the kingdom of darkness just by existing. You don't even have to open your mouth. Hell already knows who you are. You threaten darkness just by waking up in the morning. You threaten principalities just by walking in the room. You don't need a title. You don't need a pulpit. You don't need followers or fame. Your very existence is a problem for hell because you carry something inside of you that shakes realms. You carry light. You carry truth. You carry heaven's mark, and darkness has been trying to put that light out since the day you were born. That's why you've been attacked since childhood. That's why depression came for you early. That's why fear tried to cripple your voice. That's why rejection found you again and again. That's why your life has felt like a war before you even understood the battle. Because hell saw something on you long before you did. You thought you were just the quiet one, the outsider, the misfit, the one who never quite belonged. But the truth is, you were marked, you were dangerous. You were anointed before you were aware, and that anointing disturbed the darkness. Because when you show up, atmospheres shift. When you speak, chains rattle. When you worship, demons tremble. When you pray, things break in the spirit. You're not average, you're not accidental, you're not optional. You are strategic. Heaven sent you, and the enemy's been trying to cancel your assignment since before you knew you had one, but you're still here, still breathing, still pressing, still dangerous, because no matter what hell has tried, God didn't let it work. You've survived what was meant to silence you. You've risen from places where others stayed buried. You've kept loving with a broken heart. You've kept hoping when nothing made sense. And with every breath, you remind hell, you failed to destroy me. You failed to make me quit. You failed to make me hate. You failed to stop what God started in me. Now, because my life is a living rebuke to darkness, the very fact that you still believe, that you still worship, that you still speak life over others, that you still walk in love when you've been betrayed, that's not weakness. That's warfare. You are a walking declaration that the devil lost. You are a walking miracle. You are a threat without even trying. You don't need to scream. You don't need to argue. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Just your obedience rattles hell's plans. Just your presence exposes fake spirits. Just your yes to the God is a weapon of mass destruction in the enemy's camp. That's why the warfare's been heavy. Because you're not fighting for material things, you're fighting to birth something eternal. Because your influence isn't based on your platform, it's based on your spirit. Because your calling isn't cute, it's combat. You've been tried in the fire, you've been tested in the dark, you've been trained through tears. And now you carry authority, authority that hell recognizes, authority that breaks cycles, authority that reclaims territory, authority that shakes generations. When you show up, light shows up. Glory shows up, power shows up, and that's why the enemy is terrified of you stepping fully into who you are. Because once you stop shrinking, once you stop apologizing, once you stop hiding your light to make others comfortable, you become uncontainable, undeniable, unstoppable. You threaten darkness because you walk in purpose, you live in truth, you refuse to bow. You've been through too much not to burn with holy fire. And every scar, every wound, every lonely night has become a weapon in your hands. So next time the enemy tries to make you feel small, remind him, I was born to tear your kingdom down because your life is not random. Your pain was not wasted. Your presence is warfare. You don't have to try to be powerful. You just have to be present. You are dangerously anointed by God, and your very existence threatens the kingdom of darkness, and hell knows it. So maybe you've been asking, why is my life like this? Why the loneliness? Why the betrayal? Why the isolation? Why the pain? Why the pressure? And now you know, because you are not normal, you are not common, you are not accidental, you are dangerously anointed by God. He placed something on you that costs more than comfort. He placed something in you that stirs hell itself. He gave you a mantle that weighs heavy, but was tailor-made for your shoulders. That's why you couldn't die in that depression. That's why you couldn't stay stuck in that heartbreak. That's why your name kept rising, even in rooms you were never invited to. That's why they left you. That's why you've cried more tears than you've told anybody. That's why your silence has been louder than most people's noise, because God has been raising a warrior in you. And maybe nobody clapped for you. Maybe nobody said, I see you. Maybe nobody honored the cost you paid just to stand here today, but heaven saw and heaven approved. You're still here, still standing, still burning, still dangerous, because when God puts his oil on someone, no man can take it off. No devil can cancel it. No failure can void it. No betrayal can break it. You were chosen. You were marked. You were set apart. You were ignited. And now it's your time. Time to stop shrinking. Time to stop apologizing for your fire. Time to walk boldly in what cost you everything to carry. This isn't about ego. This is about eternity. This is about the kingdom. This is about heaven invading earth through you. Because somebody's deliverance is waiting on your obedience. Somebody's breakthrough is locked inside your word. Somebody's healing will come through your hands. And when you walk into that room, don't forget who you are. You're not just a person. You are a move of God with legs. You are a sermon with skin. You are a fire that cannot be extinguished. So don't curse the signs. Recognize them. Embrace them. Because these signs are not your punishment. They are your confirmation. Confirmation that heaven trusts you. Confirmation that the enemy fears you. Confirmation that you were born for more than survival. You were born to shake the gates of hell. You were born to light up the dark. You were born to break generational curses. You were born to carry glory. And if you ever doubt it, if you ever wonder if you're crazy, if you ever feel too broken, too tired, too flawed to be used, look in the mirror and say this out loud. If I see these signs, I must be dangerously anointed by God. And I promise you this, they may not see it yet. They may laugh. They may mock. They may walk away. But one day they'll say, I didn't know they were carrying all of that. I didn't know God's hand was on them like that. So I didn't know I was watching history happen in front of me. And by then, you won't need validation. You'll already be walking in destiny. Because God didn't call you to be popular. He called you to be powerful. And you are. You are dangerous. You are chosen. You are fire. You are kingdom. You are dangerously anointed by God.